Hello, my name is Lazaros Papadopoulos, and I'm very happy to present our project here today, Privacy versus Profit, the impact of Google's Manifest version 3 update on ad blocker effectiveness. This is a project co-authored with my dear friend and colleague at Goethe University, Karlo Lukic. In this project, we're looking into how the Google Manifest version 3 update has impacted the functionality of ad blockers and whether this has had any negative impact on disclosure in the private space, so in other words, user privacy. Let me first give you a little bit of background knowledge on what this is all about. So what's a manifest file? What's a manifest version? The manifest file basically sets the rules of engagement between browser traffic and extensions. So it defines what permissions the extension gets, how it can interact with the browser traffic, what information it gets, and what manipulations it can do. To be more precise, under Manifest version 2, we had the Web Request API, which let extensions inspect each request at runtime, and also background pages, which were running continuously. Now, under Manifest version 3, we have the Declarative Net Request API, which requires extensions to pre-register the rules that the browser then enforces itself, and service workers, which are event-driven, so triggered by certain events and are torn down after a certain idle time. Additionally, under Manifest version 3, we have rule caps, so 30,000 rules per extension, and 330,000 rules for the complete browser itself. So as you can see, Manifest version 3 has limited the capabilities of extensions, and this has caused a heated debate. Well, Google states that the Manifest version 3 update is targeted towards hindering malicious extensions from infringing on users' privacy and endangering user security. Ad blockers and other critics of the update have argued that those limitations will hinder ad blockers from effectively blocking ads and trackers. So there has been a heated debate. Google has adjusted the update as a consequence of this debate, but concerns have remained by users that the MV3 update might effectively kill ad blockers. So we're looking into whether this is actually happening and what the effect of the MV3 update on ad blocker effectiveness is. So why should we care? Ad blockers are a very widely used privacy tool. Just less than 1/3 of all internet users worldwide use an ad blocker or some kind of ad blocking extension, and it protects users from privacy infringing trackers and ads. On the other side, we have a very dominant browser vendor, Google, who has a dual role. As browser vendor, it imposes basically these rules of engagement on extensions and might care about user privacy and security. But at the same time, Google is one of the, if not the largest ad company in the world, and is obviously interested in serving users ads. These interests obviously are in conflict here, as Google might want to serve more ads, but at the same time might have some incentive to preserve user privacy. So this dual role is causing a lot of tension. And the update not only had a consequence on Google Chrome users, but has carried over to Firefox and many other browsers due to the large market power that Google has. As a consequence, we think it's a very interesting question and a question best addressed empirically. We think this is an inherently empirical question because to determine the impact on user privacy, it's important to look into sets of technology that the users actually use, so popular ad blocker extensions. And this is exactly what we're doing. We're running a browser-based experiment where we run parallel instances of MV2 and MV3 versions of the same ad blocker that are roughly released at a comparable time, and measure blocked ads and trackers under those two regimes. This makes sure that by running those experiments, those browser instances in parallel for the same set of websites, no temporal variations causing any noise in our measurements, And by keeping the ad blocker vendor constant, we're also making sure that it's not the vendor that is driving the developer of the ad blocking extension that's driving our results. Now we run this. We run these 4 MV2 and MV3 browser instances on the same website in parallel, but we also run a base version with no ad blocker active to make sure that there have been any ads at all that could have been blocked or any trackers that could have been blocked. And we run an MV3 Plus version to mitigate the concern that if a user runs several MV3 ad blockers at the same time, they might run into the global rule limit, which might limit the functionality of those ad blockers. The whole measurements are done over the Trunco 1K list, and 924 websites are final sample, and the Trunco 1K list is a list of particularly popular websites. In our main results, we cannot find any statistically significant decrease in the number of ads blocked in MV3 compared to MV2 versions of the same ad blockers, and we do even find a statistical increase in blocked trackers, where MV3 ad blockers block roughly 1.5 more trackers than their MV2 counterparts. So in total, in our main results, we cannot find a statistically significant decrease in ad blocker effectiveness. Individual comparisons between ad blockers show a similar picture, where there's no statistically significant decrease in ad blocking effectiveness, and even some increases in ad blockers' ability to block trackers. Now, our MV3 Plus version also reveals that running multiple MV3 ad blockers at once in one instance does not hinder the individual capability to block ads and trackers. To make sure that our measurements are robust and our results are robust, we run several additional tests. We run our browser-based experiment on a stratified sample of websites, stratified by popularity, including also less popular websites and not just particularly popular websites. We measure ads and trackers with alternative measures. We compare early versus late MV3 builds. We replicate our results on Firefox, and we check the reliability of our measurements across 5 runs and find consistent results for these tests. In addition, we also run a visual inspection of 100 screenshot pairs, so taking during the crawl process, where we compare the MV2 and MV3 version of those screenshots and look into a possible breakage or cosmetic placeholders. Well, our ability to detect breakage in those screenshots is limited. We do find that in 22% of cases, cosmetic placeholders are present under MV3 when they're not present under MV2, which might hinder the user experience a bit. Now, our study also has several limitations. The long tail of websites and ad-serving behaviors might be underrepresented. Our study is also just a snapshot in time, so our results are only valid for the time when we ran our experiment, and future changes might shift results. And our ability to measure cosmetic placeholders and breakage are limited by the static nature of the screenshots that we take during the crawl process. In conclusion, we don't find a statistically significant reduction in ad blocking or anti-tracking effectiveness under MV3. Some blockers even improve anti-tracking, and running several ad blockers in our MV3 Plus instance simultaneously does not hinder the individual capability. Our findings are robust across samples, metrics, times, and browsers, and they show that ad blocker developers have successfully adapted to the Manifest version 3 update and the challenges that have come with it. Even though there are some uncertainties that remain, overall our results are reassuring for users that depend on ad blocking extensions to protect their privacy. Thank you very much for your attention, and also to all the reviewers and editors that have moderated the process. We thank you all for your help. If there are any remaining questions after reading the paper or seeing the presentation, please feel free to contact me. You can find my email here. We are very much looking forward to questions and feedback.